Of course, the big race everyone is watching, not only here in the state of California, but across the country, because this could really have big impacts, is the race for governor. So we're seeing some initial results pouring in. So let's take a look. Steve Hilton was the heavy hitter on the Republican side, 28% of the vote right now. Xavier Becerra was an early lead, leading all of these candidates coming into today. So we're looking like 26%. Tom Steyer, who had the biggest political campaign, so much money behind him, not only with his own money, but a lot of additional funding, 18%. Chad Bianco was former sheriff of Riverside, and then Matt Mayhem, 5%. So it looks like Katie Porter not on there at this moment.
And this is what we were wondering, is a lot of people thought Xavier Becerra would be in the runoff. Then the question is, who comes in second? Is it Steve Hilton? Is it Tom Steyer? But now we see Steve Hilton with the early lead. Just 9% of precincts reporting at this point, but he has 28%. Not really a surprise, though, after what we heard from our political analysts, Laura Fink and Wendy Patrick, because the early tallies that were coming in more heavily Republican than we would normally see in an election. And as they mentioned, part of that is a lot of Democrats really didn't know who they were going to vote for until the very last minute. They wanted to make sure their vote counted. They didn't want to vote for a Katie Porter if they didn't feel she had a legitimate shot, or a Matt Mayhem, who you see there had 5% of the vote. And so then it becomes, okay, well, do I vote for Xavier Becerra? Do I vote for Tom Steyer? What do I really even know about them? Because they weren't the initial person who I wanted to vote for. Yeah. So now we're seeing these numbers trickle in. You want to say, okay, that's really interesting. But then on the other hand, you say, well, I don't want to read too much into these numbers.
Well, yes, and it's the strategic voting process, as they call it. But coming into this as well, a lot of Democrats were saying, I have my weight behind Xavier Becerra, but I'm still going to wait because he's the one of the many of that group who's held a federal office with President Biden, so former President Biden. So he has the chops, as it were, to hold an office like this, whereas Tom Steyer has not held a political office before, but he has been campaigning heavily and earlier than any of the other candidates because he had the most money. And it seems like, and Newsom has kind of stayed quiet.
Yes.
He said early on, he was kind of disappointed in all of the candidates, but didn't so much poo-poo them. He just didn't really put his weight around someone in particular. So that's why we're seeing so many faces in the field right now.